Look, I won't lie. I never yikes. I never do a yikes. I never hit a yikes. But Hollyoaks is making me a double yikes. So, in Monday's episode, the 10th of February, Hollyoaks is continuing with this supposed human trafficking storyline. Why is that a yikes? Well, they're going for two of the prominent teens on the show, and it's through characters who we are supposed to love, well, maybe not love, but definitely enjoy, in Rex and Grace Black. Why is it a yikes? It's a yikes because now they've decided the best candidate for this human trafficking is Frankie Osborne, the character who's just been through a whole ordeal because she was being abused by her twin brother for years and years and years. And now they risk falling into the same trap you do when you have a character who is really fantastic and the actress is incredible and probably honestly too good for Hollyoaks. When you have this character on your show, you want to give them the really, really juicy, amazing storyline, big acting moments. But at the end of the day, you struggle because you're at a point where, yes, Frankie was phenomenal, and her storyline with JJ should probably win awards. It should absolutely win awards at the Soap Awards, at any awards. Her acting performance was great, so you want her to have more acting like it. But it's a problem people run into when you establish a new character, but you give them a really tragic story. Do you let them live a little bit? Do you let them carry on with their life and get to grips with the grief, get to grips with the stress, get to grips with the trauma? Or do you turn up that trauma dial even more and you put a character who has already been through one hell of an ordeal big enough for one person, now you give them more and more and more? Now, let me give you a couple names that this may remind you of. Whitney Dean, Ronnie Mitchell. You have these characters who fundamentally have proven to be very good, very strong, very capable. But then you just give them, you hit them with a tragedy stick again, expecting really good scenes. Even Ben Mitchell, to an extent, you expect really good scenes and acting. But at the end of the day, you still want to be able to root for a character. And at some point, you just don't want to see your favorite character suffer anymore, so you stop caring, because they're not actually allowed to be a character. They're just a trauma machine. They're just a tragedy truck, consistently chugging away, constantly feeling bad, but still, it's just not something you want to do. And it was always going to be a strange time where they fully went, okay, Grace Black is back. She is going to be the Grace Black we all know and love. The badass Barbie, the blonde bombshell, the daughter that Fraser would look at proudly, carrying on this criminal empire. But Grace was always a lot more interesting in this role, but they weren't explicitly explaining all the awful criminal stuff that they were doing. Now, Grace Black, supposed to be favourite, is now getting involved with human trafficking. That's a yikes. That's a yikes. Awful. How are you supposed to be investing in Grace Black as a character? Yeah, sure, she's turning into a villain and she's definitely shown the dark side, turning on Mercedes and turning on Freddy. But still, you're supposed to like Grace. You're supposed to like Rex, both of whom have turned their sights into Dylan Hay, who is a unsuspecting now father who doesn't want to be a father and wants to slack off despite his responsibilities, and Frankie, who just went through her own sexual abuse ordeal, and now you're going to start targeting her in order to human traffic. Let's not stress that to a little extent. Human traffic possibly these two teenagers. It's a yikes. And I know I've said it a lot in this video, so maybe my statement is wrong. But it's just a weird direction because, yes, some characters do get caught up in really horrific things. And I doubt D.I. Banks will be on the show long enough to really tell. And I don't think either person will necessarily be destroyed by this. I don't think either will actually get trafficked. And I don't think either will really pay the full consequences. They'll definitely be groomed in order to try and do that, but I think it'll be stopped before it gets too far. But still, you've established Rex, who you want to be this like big love interest for Steve in this new era, and it's like, oh, look at him, he's all cutesy, he's all loved up, look at him, you loved Steve for a year, but Steve said he didn't like you anymore, so you went bad. And it's like, oh, all right then, piss off. Piss off. And Grace, who, yes, has been scorned, but isn't this supposed to just be a little part in the plan where she's going to take over? But ideally, when she takes over, a lot of the crime's going to be implied. Because you know what? Unless you're Warren Fox and you have a particular amount of machismo, but even then you don't explicitly say, hey, here's Warren Fox, he's killed 10 people. I don't know how much. He's not that many, but oh, he's inadvertently caused the deaths of 20 people. You carry it differently. You don't always bring up the crimes they've done, because then it makes it hard to root for them, because we all have a moral compass. We all have what we believe to be just and right. It's just a really weird direction that Hollyoaks has decided to go in. Now, admittedly, we could all be getting a bit hyperactive over nothing, but man alive, it's not really what you want to hear. Because we're always saying, and I've been saying this for a while now, with a lot of the time jump storylines now wrapping up, you do wonder what exactly they're going to do next. What is going to be their next dose of storyline in order to carry it forward. The twin-cest sexual abuse storyline, over. The Abe storyline, over. Now, you just still have Mercedes having cancer, but still, now you're moving forward under this new direction with Jez, with Sienna and Cleo, or Cleena, which is fantastic, by the way. Love that name. Now is human trafficking what they plan to do? Because it's not like Hollyoaks doesn't have a history of doing this stuff. They did the County Line storyline very quickly, and they had the County Lines where Juliet and Sid and even Ella and Charlie were peddling drugs for Victor Brothers. And, it was a pretty dark time with a lot of drugs, but interesting to say none the least. And they had the alt-right, alt-right radicalization with Steve. Then they've never been afraid to tell these stories, but it's just you're stripping these characters away from what made them good. And I desperately hope they don't decide to dredge Frankie and Dylan through this lens, because ultimately it'll be really hard to trust in Grace. It'll be really hard to trust in Rex, and it's not really the message you want to send. Yes, some characters will inevitably be more villains than good people, but also it's getting a bit worrisome when you're still pitting the same characters through the same sorts of stressful situations, leading for more tragedy and trauma. But hey, this is what I think they wanted. They wanted us as fans, and this is us as fans of the show, going through the motions, being worried for Frankie, worried for Dylan. So in terms of actually making these characters worthwhile and important, I think they've definitely done a good job. But still, it's just a question of where the storyline is going. Is it exactly something we can look forward to, or is it going to secretly creep up on us and be something really, really engaging and important to tell? So yeah, it's another bold take, and Hollyoaks has tackled a lot of bold storylines lately, so perhaps this is one in another. They've not exactly done a big press press rally to try and get a lot of people talking about it and talking about charities that are talking to, which you usually do when they announce a big storyline. So fingers crossed, if that happens, we can start to plant our feet and get a bit more grounded and stop worrying so much. But still, at the end of the day, it's a worrying look of where Hollyoaks is going to go. But with what they've done lately and what they've done since the time jump, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and proceed to not question every single move. So it is a yikes still, but I'm also gripped and really ready and waiting to see how exactly this transpires. So yeah, there we are. That's the video. What do you think about this new storyline? I've been Ash from Watching Walford. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.